Pokemon types are not perfectly balanced. They clearly decided that rather than having a world where maybe every type is super effective into three types and every type is resistant to three types, they instead wanted to do lore from our real world that makes a little more sense, is a little easier to remember. Things like water puts out fire, fire melts ice, electricity flows through water. Things like that, fine. Working with those limitations, though, can we make the type chart a little bit more balanced while still keeping that lore stuff in mind in a way that makes sense? Well, yeah. Of course we can. We don't want to make too many changes, though, because that'll almost certainly lead to unintended consequences. So let's think about the strongest types, the worst types. Let's make a few small adjustments. The adjustments I want to make specifically are going to be, hey, I look at Ice and Bug. Those are two of the weakest types in the game. I'd like to give them a small buff. And I look at Fairy. That's one of the strongest types in the game. I want to give it a small nerf. How are we going to do this? Well, it has to make sense from a lore standpoint. So if we look at Ice, don't really want to make it stronger offensively. It's already pretty strong offensively. It hasn't really helped the typing and competitive play and Nuzlocke and a lot of things. It's a weak type. So we're going to have to look at it defensively. And I look at that and go, the one that makes the most sense is probably just give it a resistance to dragons. It already hits dragons for super effective. Clearly that's because dragons are lizard-like, cold-blooded. They don't like the cold. It shuts them down a bit. Fine. Same thing should happen. If you come in close to swing for an outrage, you're going to be in a place where your blood flow slows down, you don't swing as hard. Okay, that's a great reason to resist the attack. Makes as much sense as everything else on this type chart here. Fine. So next we move over to Bug. Bug we look at defensively, relatively balanced. Offensively, this is a train wreck. There's just so many resistances. The ones that would make the most sense to eliminate would either be Fighting or Ghost. There's no particular reason that either of those typings should resist Bug type, but the one I want to get rid of here is going to be Fighting type. That's fine with me. I think Fighting type's a little healthier than Ghost type, so giving it a little bit of a nerf isn't going to hurt it as much. And again, there's no real great lore reason for fighters to resist bugs. There's no, yes, well, you can't bite me because my skin has become too hard from training. No, maybe it's supposed to be some, I can sense my opponent's coming, but that just doesn't really make sense against bugs who are so small in our world. Maybe not in the Pokemon world, but in our world, and a lot of this lore balance clearly comes from our world here. So that just leaves us with needing to hit a nerf on Fairy typing. And I actually know exactly what I want to do there. I'm going to look at Fairy typing, and I'm going to say, hey, Fairy typing, you're going to go ahead and now get resisted by Psychic typing here. And the reason I want to do that is we're clearly looking at, if we think about fairies, they are in lore frequently seen as tricksters. They're actually, generally pretty small. They live in similar places to bugs. Otherwise, I'd have said, is there some way we can make bugs better against fairy? Nerf a top type, buff a bottom type. But no, they're clearly the apex predators when they live together. But what they also do in a lot of lore is they're tricksters. They trick humans. They're mischievous with humans. They do all these things, and you can't really trick people when those people are psychic. So Psychic should be the solution to those tricksters that do make up a lot of fairy lore. That's going to be plenty of reason for a resistance there. So I think this all works, but what do you think? Do you guys look at this and go, no, you hit the wrong types. You definitely needed to nerf water and buff rock instead of these types? Do you look at these and say, no, that lore doesn't fit for reason XYZ? Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you're enjoying the content, drop a like, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, Temporal out.